Good morning and welcome to the virtual Metrolinx Board of Directors meeting. My name is Anne-Marie Akins and I'm the Senior Manager of Media with Metrolinx. And it's hard to believe that we're now a year and this is a whole year of meeting virtually with our Board of Directors. But our incident command team for COVID continues to be very busy mitigating the impacts of the virus and now its variants. We're ensuring staff and customers remain safe and continuing to provide essential transit service as well as construction. And now we're working on service recovery as the vaccine rollout continues. I'm going to see you at the closing of the meeting, but in the meantime, we have a lot of busy work that we have to talk about of all the construction that's underway and the work that's been continuing in spite of the pandemic. And now I'm going to turn it over to our board chair, Don Wright.
Thank you, Anne-Marie. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the first meeting in this calendar year. We're going to start our meeting this morning the same way we do on a regular basis with our land acknowledgement. Let us take a moment to acknowledge that we are on the traditional territory of many nations, in particular the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Anishinaabe, the Chippewa, and the Haudenosaunee and Wendat peoples. We acknowledge that Metrolinx operates on these lands and has a responsibility to work with the original keepers of this territory and the many diverse Indigenous peoples living here today. Thank you. Steve Levine, Chief Operating Officer for the Rapid Transit System, will now lead us in our safety briefing. Over to you, Stephen.
With Stephen temporarily not available, Chair, I will lead with a safety moment.
Please.
There's a very practical, but perhaps not as widely known risk to speaking on a hands-free telephone while driving. There's many studies have been done of this, and what it actually turns out is that it is so distracting from your driving behavior that it could be equivalent to a percentage. In the UK, there's a widely held statistic of 4 times more likely to be involved in a car accident if you're on a hands-free or on a mobile device of any sort. And that goes for hands-free devices as well. So the sort of belief that hands-free makes it safe is actually not accurate. So one of the things we're doing in Metrolinx, and encourage everyone else on this call to do, is to not use your phone while driving. No mobile device while driving. In our safety moments, we've shared that around very actively. And it is just one more small step. And if small steps like this can keep people safe, it is very positive. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Phil. The following correspondence has been received and has been distributed to the board. One, a letter from Peter Myazek and Kenneth Westcar on behalf of Transport Action Ontario, dated January the 4th of this year, regarding the Orangeville, Brampton, and Barrie-Collingwood rail corridors, with responses from Metrolinx and the Ministry of Transportation. We also have a letter from Rosemary Watterson on behalf of the Lakeshore East Community Advisory Committee, dated March 11th, regarding plans to run the Ontario line on an elevated corridor between the Don River and Gerrard Street. I have another letter from Maggie Redmond of the Save Jimmy Simpson Group, dated March 15th, regarding the impacts of the above-ground section of the Ontario line in South Riverdale. And lastly, a letter from Jeffrey Stone, received March the 22nd, regarding the Yonge North Subway extension. So thank you for those letters, and we respond to all the letters that we receive. We have several items that we're going to discuss on the agenda today. In addition to our quarterly board reports, we'll have a presentation on the Ontario line and the benefits of delivering this service above ground, an update on the Yonge North Subway extension, as well as a new customer campaign to be rolled out as we look to welcome riders back after this year of pandemic. Before we continue, I want to say that at the last board meeting, I congratulated Phil on being named CEO of the Year during Canada's Safest Employer Awards. This month, I again want to commend him and the whole Metrolinx team for being recognized as a top employer for young people. Phil, congratulations to you and the organization for this recognition. I'll now hand it over to Phil for his CEO update.
Thank you very much, Chair. And every recognition is truly reflective of the people in our organization and what we're trying to build in terms of a capability and a set of values that helps our organization to be sustainable and get better at what we do. So I cannot say thank you enough to the people across our organization who have done so much over the last year, and what a year it's been. And these are our people and continue to work, whether from home or at the front line, in a way which shows a dedication and a commitment to public service beyond the normal call of duty. We've experienced so much change and so many adjustments in how we function, and our ability to respond has been extremely positive for us, because I can feed back to the public today that we have not faltered in delivering any of our business objectives and commitments. It's been challenging. Some of it has been really difficult, and ridership, for example, has been severely curtailed due to the lockdowns and the outbreak of COVID. But what I can share is how much positive things have happened and how much positive things we've maintained delivery on. We've not slowed down in our capital construction program. And what's really exciting is that we've achieved major procurement milestones, as we've announced in the press, on both our Eglinton West subway extension project and our Scarborough subway extension project. These are huge, huge achievements for us, because in a very short period of time during COVID, a COVID year, we went to market with an RFQ in the early part of last year. We then had an RFP, we turned it around, we now have preferred bidders in place, and we are ready to start construction in the second half of 2021, which is a massive outcome for us. In December last year, our new Union Station bus terminal opened, 40 new bus bays, charging ports, Wi-Fi, bike parking spaces, and amenities that will really delight our customers. And there are several significant developments in our capital program, and Matt Clark, our Chief Capital Officer, has a permanent slot now in the open session where he would talk and show a couple of pictures and sort of a window on what some of these achievements have been. And Matt's slides are always exciting and always enjoyable, because it's so real what progress we are making. I can also share that our on-time performance, as well as our customer satisfaction of all our rail and bus services, exceeded the targets for the year. We've achieved literally the best scores for on-time performance and for customer satisfaction, and even in a year where we've seen a curtailment of ridership, it's extremely important to have adjusted and adapted. Huge efforts we put into health on trains, cleanliness on trains, health at stations, cleanliness at stations. These were all adjustments we made in a very deliberate attempt to keep our essential railway and bus services running. It's been used throughout this period, and despite the fact that less people traveled, we significantly adjusted our schedules for running, our schedules for operation, and that reflects why our customer satisfaction has been so exceptional as customer satisfaction scores. And as part of our modernization, our ongoing modernization of Presto, 2 weeks ago, we rolled out the Presto open payment pilot on Up Express, and this allows customers to pay by credit card and also to pay with a virtual card from their mobile wallets. And information on this pilot that we'll be gathering will help us to bring even more payment options to our customers across the region. We're very excited about Presto. Presto has a huge a very high rate of adoption, huge number of cards out there, used very often, and we're very excited about what the future of Presto looks like. Our COVID-19 health and safety measures continue to be a very positive feature of our service. But what you'll hear later on from Leslie Milan and Maureen McLeod will be about the exciting things we're doing with journey purposes and also with getting our communities out there to travel again. Just, very recently I've had a couple of presentations to me from the public on how keen people are to get out and to get around the region and have local vacations and staycations, and we are very keen for supporting our communities with this as we get out of COVID to recover to normalcy. In the last month, we've also featured a couple of days of significance. Very important for us. Black History Month in February was a very successful event for us and very, very important observance of the heroes in our Black communities in Canada. And also International Women's Day earlier this month. And we also observe March as Women's History Month, which is very important for us. Our employees and level of engagement continue to be a really important factor for us at Metrolinx, and we continue to work through our action plans to keep our employees engaged. It's therefore with great satisfaction that I can say we've three surveys in a row now have scored an employee engagement score above 80%. Which is a exceptionally important and comforting score for us, and it continues to be our objective as leaders in the organization to ensure our organization is a place where people can bring their total self to deliver what their jobs are. Now, with regard to recognition, I want to commend and applaud all of our teams that have done so much over the last year, balancing demands of work and family while working from home. Your efforts and commitment to deliver our objectives have not gone unnoticed, and we're very appreciative of that. Our Minister of Transportation, Caroline Mulrooney, and Associate Minister Kinga Sirma sent letters thanking our teams who provided valuable support during the year for mobile testing for healthcare workers. We've had bus drivers who assisted transporting migrant farm workers back in July. Our procurement team assisted the province to source and procure PPE equipment. And generally, we've done everything we could to provide support for frontline workers during the pandemic. We even converted some of our car parks in trucker rest stops. Many things in a very, very busy year. These Metrolinx teams have been nominated for an Empire Club of Canada award that recognizes frontline workers across the province during the pandemic. Just want to say the dedication and sacrifice of our people in a year of a lot of uncertainty has been truly commendable, and we are forever humbled and honored by what our people have done here. I will now hand over to Matt. Matt will take us through a discussion of his capital programs. Thanks, Matt.
Thank you very much, Phil. As Phil's already said, just a huge amount of work happening in the capital project space at the moment. Hopefully you can see some slides, and I'll just step through some of the pictures that we put up for you, just give you a feel for the volume of work that's being delivered. Just 10 minutes to talk, so there's a lot of ground to cover in 4 slides in 10 minutes, so I might talk fairly quickly. So 2 pictures on the first slide. So if we move to the light rail transit slide, there's 2 pictures here of Eglinton Crosstown light rapid transit. The first picture in the top left is the surface platform at Sloane Stop. A huge amount of work happening on Eglinton, and the at-grade parts of this project are really starting to take shape between Laird and Kennedy stations. A significant amount of track installation now complete, significant amount of overhead catenary installation complete, and as you can see here, the station's coming together as well. In the bottom left photograph, you can see vehicle deliveries on the Eglinton project. We now have 45 revenue vehicles delivered to the maintenance and storage facility, and work's progressing very well in that space as well. On the top right, you can see a picture of Finch West Rapid Transit. This is at the maintenance storage facility. Work significantly progressed at that location on this project, with the building enclosed and really coming together. Also, as you can see in this picture, very wintry picture, the tracks down and again overhead catenary being installed, and as well a huge amount of progress at the Finch West station, with excavation work for the main station continuing and steel framework to protect underground utilities and for road decking nearing completion. And finally, for rapid transit in the bottom right, a lot of progress on Hurontario in the space of design and procurement, but also out on the ground, utility relocations, early works progressing well, relocation of pedestrian crossings in coordination with the City of Mississauga also ongoing. So a huge amount of work happening across the LRT portfolio. Next slide shows progress on our Go expansion early work. So this is works to expand and improve the existing Go rail network. The pictures here are showing progress on our P3 contracts. In the top left, you can see a pedestrian bridge being lifted in February on the Rutherford Go station project. This project includes a grade separation, a new station building, car parking, a 6-storey multi-level parking structure, new platforms, new track, and reconstruction and reconfiguration of bus loops and parking lots and drop-off areas. So work's progressing very, very well on site, and this weekend there's a track shift which will be key to the progress of the project under a road closure and track closure. And the top right, Stills Avenue Underpass project, part of our Stouffville AFP. So this work is to grade separate Stills Avenue adjacent to Milliken Station. The train bridge complete, and excavation under the bridge was complete in March this year. And this is part of a larger P3 project that includes provision of a second track on the Stouffville corridor and work at Agincourt, Milliken and Unionville stations, enabling all-day two-way service on that line. Bottom left, incredibly exciting project as part of the P3 portfolio, the Highway 401-409 tunnel. Excavation under 21 lanes of traffic, very complicated civil engineering project, minimal disruption allowed to, as you can imagine, to the highway, very, very tight monitoring in place from both ourselves and ministries and the highway agencies. Rail tunnel excavation complete in January, tunnel lining on our first tunnel complete concrete lining complete in March, and our second tunnel we have waterproofing ongoing currently. So very, very exciting civil engineering project and progressing very, very well. And the final P3 early works project on this slide, Davenport Diamond Guideway, construction of a new guideway and grade separation of a rail crossing. You can see a caisson installation happening for guideway columns, and this project has made use of barrier separation between the works and the live rail corridor to really optimise the amount of work that we can do adjacent to a live operating rail network. Next slide. Again, on the Go expansion side, this is more using our traditional contracts for the Go expansion work. In the top left, you can see a picture of our Stouffville corridor double tracking work that's been ongoing for a significant amount of time. This photograph is a picture of work happening to widen the track over the West Highland Creek, a very, very sensitive, as you can imagine, environmental piece of work, but work's progressing very well on that program now. Top right, Bloomington Go Station. which was completed by the Capital Projects Group and handed over to operations on the 5th of March this year, and it includes a new station, a new parking garage, side platforms. So a really significant piece of work for us to complete, and a real achievement for the team to have that complete in March, and as I say, handed over to operations. In the bottom left, we have Barry Corridor expansion, enabling Project 1. This is an example of work. The picture you can see here is actually us installing noise walls along the Barry Corridor. And this is an example of where we've made use of the reduced ridership to really increase the volume of work that we're out there delivering in the live rail network, and that work pushing on very hard in the current environment of reduced ridership and reduced train traffic. And in the bottom right, last picture from a Go Expansion early works point of view, you can see Bramley parking structure, a new parking garage to accommodate over 2,000 vehicles, additional 1,300 spots, and part of a master plan on that site, which has a new station building, improved facilities, new and upgraded pedestrian tunnels and accessible platforms, and works at Bramley significantly progressed now, as you can see from the picture of the parking garage coming together. And finally, subways, and as Phil mentioned, next slide, as Phil mentioned on the subway space, just a huge amount of work happening from a procurement perspective. We are in the top left. We announced that on March the 3rd, that we have first negotiation proponents for the advanced tunnelling work on both the Scarborough and the Eglinton projects. That procurement complete in an extremely accelerated manner, a very successful procurement process, and we are now heavily into negotiations with those proponents. At Scarborough, the works will include an 8-kilometre long bored tunnel from Shepherd to McCowan, about 10.7 metre internal diameter, and on Eglinton, 6.4 kilometre bore from Eglinton to Renforth. So extremely exciting works. And the last picture on the slide deck is borehole work happening across the whole programme. Reliably informed, we've now carried out 700 boreholes across the programme to de-risk, to understand the geotechnical conditions of the sites and where we're going to be carrying out these works. And so a huge amount of preparatory and investigation work happening on the ground across the whole subway programme. And that's a very quick run through of a huge amount of work that's happening out there.
Any questions anybody would like to ask Matt? Well, Matt, it's certainly you've accomplished a lot. There's a lot more to do, but it's always exciting to see the pictures of people in action.
Matt, maybe you could just give the board a sense of the Strabag taking possession of the launch site. We expect that still this week or early next week, don't we? We
do. So, yes, I could have mentioned there's a lot of ground to cover there, wasn't there? I could have mentioned there's a lot of early works happening across that subway programme, and included in that is early work to secure and prepare the launch site locations for both the Eglinton and Scarborough projects. And so Strabag we're negotiating with them now, and they will be moving into that launch site area and starting demolition and preparation works. So those works hitting the ground very, very quickly. And as Phil mentioned, we're aiming for tunnel boring machines on site and operational by the early part of next year. So just a hugely exciting and an accelerated program of works on both of those projects.
Thank you, Matt. We're going to move forward then to a discussion on the Ontario line and the above ground benefits, and Duncan and Malcolm, I believe, are going to lead that.
Oh, I'm Malcolm Mackay. I can't see the deck right now, so I assume that we have our title page up. Today, we'd like to thank you for the opportunity to present the information on the Ontario line with regards to our alignment choices. We've been working very hard over the course of the last year to build into our deliverables messages that we heard from the community. And we'd also like to update you on our future consultation that we want to do in the community. Next slide. Today, we want to highlight the benefits of running portions of the Ontario line above ground and the evaluation that's been undertaken to arrive at the alignment for the project. First, I'd like to point out that we take advantage of 3 different elevations, one being underground, which many think of as a conventional subway. The other is at grade, which is also throughout Toronto, and it includes stations that are at grade. And then there's an above grade alignment, which has an elevated structure, which is often seen in Vancouver, London, and parts of the Toronto network. When we study the above ground or below ground alignments, we consider many benefits and potential impacts, including journey times, reliability, community, property impacts, the environment, and cost. Next slide. In early 2020, Metrolinx held 5 community open houses that were very well attended. At these open houses, we heard in-person concern about 2 major areas. One, the green at-grade section that runs in the shared corridor between Don Yard and Gerrard Street through the Riverside and Leslieville communities, and the pink above-grade section that runs north from Minton Place to the Science Centre through the Thorncliffe Park and Flemington Park neighborhoods. Even with COVID restrictions in place, we've been able to meet virtually with the community groups, elected officials, BIAs, and businesses. In the fall, we even met with neighbors in a socially distanced coffee chat in the Minton Place community to discuss concerns and share ideas to improve the project. Next slide. These two neighborhoods have a very interesting context. Both of these neighborhoods have unique characteristics, and I might add, unique opportunities. Both neighborhoods will benefit from new transit being offered by the Ontario line. The Riverside and Leslieville area is mature, vibrant, and includes an existing active rail corridor that has been part of the community for over a half-century. This rail corridor is owned by Metrolinx and is of sufficient width to accommodate the GO Transit and Ontario line tracks. The Thorncliffe Park and Flemington Park communities are surrounded by deep river valleys and include both light industrial areas and residential sections. These neighborhoods are fast-growing with wide streets that can accommodate an elevated guideway. Next slide. As part of our evaluation of the below grade and above grade, we use what's called a multi-criteria analysis. The depth of the station is an important and relevant consideration in terms of accessibility, connection times, and both capital and ongoing maintenance cost. An underground alignment in these 2 areas would result in deep stations at Leslieville and Riverside and onwards towards Thorncliffe Park and Flemington Park. Given the geographic, and construction constraints, an underground station in Leslieville would take approximately 4.5 minutes to connect to the surface. In Thorncliffe Park, it would be the busiest or the deepest station in Toronto and would add up to 8 minutes to any trip. This would in fact discourage people from using transit and the Ontario line. An easily accessed above ground alignment encourages transfers from TTC service network and GO trains and provides congestion relief, which we need across the entire network. It also avoids major utility relocations and costly high-risk construction under the Don River. Next slide. We heard a question from the community. Is it safe? The Ontario line is safe by design. It uses modern technology that will provide reliable service as frequent as 90 seconds during the busiest travel times. With customer and community safety as a top priority, Metrolinx is also partnering with the Canadian Standards Association to evaluate safety risks of the entire rail system. Along with new signaling and automatic platform edge doors, we'll be able to provide the customer and the community with a safe, reliable service and a smooth ride to work, home, or anywhere in between. Next slide. As part of our multi-criteria analysis of the alignment, Metrolinx also considers the time and impact of construction activities on the community and the properties needed to support the project, both in terms of permanent and temporary takes. Underground construction is time-consuming, disruptive, and costly, especially in the confined areas through Leslieville and Riverside. Above-ground construction coordination of the Ontario line and GO expansion will result in shorter construction timelines, reduced property impacts, and less disruption to the local traffic and transit operations. Next slide. The Ontario line needs to be above ground at East Harbour to give customers at East Harbour a quick, new, easy transfer to the local transit network. As such, we investigated partial underground solutions to get below grade after East Harbor before Leslieville. Our evaluation showed that longer duration, more complex and disruptive construction would be needed to build the portals and the stations. Extra property is required in an area where we're desperately trying to minimize property impacts, and the cost would increase by $800 million to $1 billion. Next slide. During our public engagement, we've heard from some communities that they were concerned about air quality, which might be worse in the above ground sections. We're pleased to report through our environmental modeling that with the use of new electric powered trains and train technology by the Ontario Line and GO Transit, we will in fact improve air quality. The Ontario Line will help curb congestion, and with an anticipated 28,000 fewer vehicles on the road each day will result in less traffic in the communities, fewer parking spaces, 7.2 million fewer liters of gas burnt each year. That's greenhouse gas reduction. That means a healthier community. Next slide. During our public engagement in early 2020, we heard concerns from the communities adjacent to the shared corridor for GO Transit in the Ontario Line, and it centered on three themes. One, the potential for increased noise as a result of the above grade alignment. Two, the aesthetics of the retaining walls. And three, threats to the community spaces and tree loss through the corridor. Metrolinx is committed to an above and beyond approach to mitigation of these concerns and a robust City of Toronto and community engagement in the application of the mitigation tools and solutions. The Ontario Line is enabling an investment in continuous noise walls to shield the community from the noises and sights of the Ontario Line, GO trains, and VIA services. We're very excited to report that preliminary noise modeling in the Leslieville Riverside communities is showing an improvement in the community with a noticeable decrease in perceived sound of every passing train and a perceptible decrease in the average noise resulting from the train operations. The result of the Ontario Line investment in above grade is a quieter neighborhood overall. The final designs of the noise and retaining walls are the subject of further study with the City of Toronto and the local community, but a whole host of landscaping improvements are available to us: finishes, trees, plants, and attractive softening along with anti-graffiti solutions will deliver an aesthetically pleasing environment to the parks adjacent to the shared corridor. Next slide.
I think, Malcolm, that's a big issue, isn't it? Is that we're going to use this as an opportunity to make that whole corridor more environmentally friendly, more noise protected, and to do it in a way which will agree with the communities that have plantings and public spaces reinstated around the corridor. So instead of dividing the community, we'll take something that runs through community and just improve it. That's the strategy, isn't it?
That's exactly right, Phil. Okay, so hopefully we're on slide 11 right now. We're also going to be using continuously welded rails to eliminate the clickety-clack of the passing trains. New automated vehicles with a really good maintenance standard will help curb noise and vibration at the source. And we're continuing to study the array of technical solutions that will improve the noise and vibration. Next slide. Since much of the Ontario Line fits within the property currently owned by Metrolinx, many mature trees in Jimmy Simpson Park, Bruce Mackey Park, McCleary Playground, Gerard Carlaw Parkette, and Tiverton Avenue Parkette will be protected. When we do remove a tree to make way for construction, the Metrolinx will work with the City of Toronto to identify new locations to plant 3 new trees for every one that we touch. Metrolinx is also excited to report that Jimmy Simpson Recreation Centre will be untouched by the Ontario Line construction and continue to offer recreation programming to everyone from preschool to older kids. And when the Ontario Line opens, there'll even be better access to this important community hub. Next slide. Due to the pandemic, the Ontario Line team has shifted our engagement to entirely online, but we are looking forward to the end of this. And we are planning to open up neighborhood offices as soon as we possibly can to be able to directly engage the community. And even though we have been online, over a 5-week period in late 2020, we had more than 20,000 people visit our project website to ask questions and provide feedback. All of this feeds into our design and development as it's ongoing. Our meetings with BIAs, businesses, neighborhood officials, neighborhood associations, and elected officials continues at pace. And I'd like to open the floor up to any questions that anyone might have.
Okay, questions?
Don, Robert.
Please go ahead, Robert.
Hi, Malcolm. Robert Poirier. Thank you for that presentation. My question relates to use of the at ground and above ground. I understand from your presentation that we're using the existing rail corridors, and in fact, while we're widening them, we expect that on a relative basis, noise and vibrations will actually reduce relative to the activity. My question relates to the corridor infrastructure reuse. We're putting a lot of confidence, and obviously the public angst is around noise and vibration and other environmental concerns, and we're putting a lot of confidence in these noise walls. Can you speak to that and provide some assurances that they're actually going to work?
So I can respond to that. We actually have two parts that are part of the at-grade corridor. First is the retaining wall that holds the earth and soil up, and then on top of that, we're building a noise wall. The intent with the noise wall is that it's going to be clear and transparent so that we can allow light to get into the parks and the neighborhood without being an imposing wall. We're intending to do treatments on the retaining walls in consultation with the City of Toronto and the community to try and soften the edges and make the build fit into the community. And our modeling is showing that with the noise wall heights of anywhere between 3 and 5 meters, that we are actually, as I said earlier, reducing the sound of every passing train, and on average in the community, improving the noise and reducing the noise generated by the rail corridor.
And is it fair to say that once we have electrification, we're going to see dramatic reductions?
Absolutely, yeah, that's part of it, as well as air quality improvements.
Great, thank you. Thanks, Don.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay, hearing none, we'll move on. Thank you very much, Malcolm. Appreciate it. That was a great presentation. So we're going to move on to the Yonge North Subway extension. I think, Stephen, you're going to take us through this, right?
I am, sir. And good morning, Chair and members of the board. My name is Stephen Collins, and I'm your program sponsor for the Yonge North Extension project. Next slide, please. I'm here this morning to be sharing with you an update on the Yonge North project and to let you know that we have recently released the initial business case to the public and have really started to ramp up our engagement with the communities along the corridor. Next slide, please. The Yonge North Subway extension will complete the missing link and create this much needed rapid transit connection between York Region and the City of Toronto. We are planning the approximately 8-kilometer extension to have 4 new stations and connect seamlessly to the existing Yonge Street Subway. Key stations included in the project scope so far are Steele Station, which will not only be a hub for significant surface bus routes, but also accommodate the efficient integration with the future Steeles Avenue rapid transit line. Bridge Station, which is at the interface between the existing CN corridor and Highways 407 and Highway 7, achieves the overarching objective of joining the emerging Richmond Hill Centre Langstaff Gateway provincially designated urban growth centre to the subway network, bringing together all existing and future rapid transit services at a single hub, enabling this community to grow to its highest and best potential. High Tech Station, which is complementary to Bridge Station, serving the provincially designated growth centre, will bring more than half of the Richmond Hill Centre downtown to within a short walk of the subway service. And we continue to evaluate 3 neighbourhood stations, being Cummer, Clark, and Royal Orchard, to identify the performance of each station in contributing to the positive benefits of the Yonge North Subway extension. Next slide, please. Some of the key benefits and the drivers of our business case. Obviously, the ridership is quite significant, and we're looking at close to 100,000 daily boardings. We're bringing tens of thousands of more people and jobs within a short 10-minute walk of the subway service. We'll be reducing greenhouse gas emissions by 4,800 tons annually and significantly reducing the vehicle kilometers traveled, helping manage congestion in this rapidly growing area of the GTA and a known concern of the residents and businesses of Southern York Region. Next slide, please. The demand for travel along Yonge Street corridor requires more than 3,000 buses to meet people's mobility needs. The Yonge North Subway extension will give these people a rapid transit option and save them 22 minutes each way on their trip to and from York Region. The 94,100 daily riders will share a combined 835,000 minutes of saved time from their daily travels, enabling them to put this time to higher and better use. Our placement of Bridge Station in the northern section of the project at the centroid of the Langstaff Gateway maximizes the potential to achieve the transit-oriented community's objectives by efficiently serving the area with not only the subway, but also the integration of Viva BRT, Highway 407 bus, and the future Highway 407 transitway. Next slide, please. And next slide. Running the subway at grade, which is our proposal to interface with the CN corridor and bring the subway to the surface, allows us to advance the project quickly and finish sooner. Building the tracks and stations at grade in the northern portion of the alignment avoids costly and complex underground construction and reduces the vertical distance that people will need to travel, enabling fast and efficient transfers between the transit services at Bridge Station and access to High-Tech Station. Using the existing rail corridor also reduces the disruptions to existing services in the area, including major utilities and major stormwater infrastructure serving the Richmond Hill Centre. Next slide, please. Of key interest to us and really what is sort of special about our business case are the couplet of Bridge and High-Tech Station. Bridge and High-Tech Stations are placed to serve the highest density areas and locate the major transit hubs centrally within this provincially designated urban growth center. The hub will enable fast and efficient transfers between the rapid transit and local transit services, which will converge at the single location. And by using the existing rail corridor and the space between Highway 407 and Highway 7, we have optimized the use of land within the urban growth center, freeing up developable space for more productive community building uses. Next slide, please.
Stephen, before you go on to the next slide, do you want to give the board a sense of how this is different from the original design, which entered Richmond Hill and the development sort of from the southwest more than from the southeast, and that meant less effective use of real estate in downtown Richmond Hill, and also not a great connection with the gateway development. And just talk about that mixture of issues, which we have significantly improved now.
Yeah, thank you, Phil. So the image on the bottom of the screen there really identifies the path of the subway as we travel into the growth center, which is at the top of that image. The image in sort of the inset at the top represents the sort of aspirational plans of the city of Markham to develop the Langstaff Gateway. And as you can see, the focus and the concentration of the density of that development is in the middle, and that's centered around the existing Langstaff station. The original concept for the Yonge North Subway had the subway traveling up Yonge Street, which is essentially at the bottom of that upper image, and it would place a station in Yonge Street, essentially opposite the existing Holy Cross Cemetery and a low-rise single-family home subdivision on the west side of Yonge Street. By moving to the alignment that we have moved to and bringing the subway truly into the heart of this urban growth center, we're actually placing the subway stations, and especially Bridge Station, really at the heart of where the people and the businesses are going to be in the future. And we see that as a true innovation and a true benefit that we are bringing to the Yonge North Subway Extension project above what was already a positive business case project.
And the previous design had 3 stations within sort of a small radius, but none of them were really creating a network, were they?
Correct.
And now you're bringing the Langstaff GO and the subway, as well as all of the bus services. You're bringing all of that together at Bridge, which is just a huge step forward in a network sense.
It absolutely is. And so, as Phil mentioned there, we are completely integrating all transit services converging on this single area into a major transit hub that's located at the centroid of this entire urban growth center. So a true advantage of the solution that we've identified through the business case is that bridge station and the integration of all of those modes into a single transit hub, creating that excellent network connectivity. Next slide, please. And I'll just speak for a minute about noise and vibration. Obviously, there are many areas in locations in North America and around the world where subways are either sort of operating or being constructed close to homes and sensitive land uses. Modern subways are designed to minimize the noise and vibrations that are caused by construction and operations, and we are analyzing as part of our work in the next phase of the Yonge North Subway Extension project, the latest technologies, and we'll be incorporating these into our project. More work will be done to customize the solution for the entire project with a focus on the northern below ground section where it travels below the Royal Orchard community and the at-grade sections as they travel into the urban growth center. This will include significant consultation with communities and key stakeholders to ensure that we are not only explaining to them what we are proposing to do, but we are also listening to them so that we fully understand their concerns and can incorporate appropriate measures into our project. Next slide, please. So just in closing, I want to thank the board for this opportunity to share our update and look forward to our continued work to advance this priority project for the benefit of existing and future residents and businesses. And with that, I'll sort of turn it back to the chair and welcome any questions.
Thanks, Stephen. Any questions from the board to Stephen?
Don, Paul Saparis, I have one.
Go ahead.
First of all, a very exciting proposal. And one of the questions, you talk about the dramatic reduction of buses down the Yonge Street line, which I think will be welcomed by all residents. I was wondering if we know what's going to be happening with Finch currently as a regional hub for a lot of those buses. And clearly we won't need that. It seems like we won't need that regional hub. Is there any thoughts to how that intersection is going to be evolved, or how Finch Station will be evolved, the land around it? And are we thinking about that from our social and economic benefits in this business case?
So that's a great question. And so the quick answer is we have not yet started working with the TTC on what the future of Finch Station and the area around Finch Station are. We are still doing a lot of work with the TTC and the project team to understand how as many as possible of those routes that now go down and terminate at Finch Station can be brought forward further north and interface with the Yonge Subway further north. Once we reach the conclusion of the numbers of those routes that we can bring further north and get those people on the subway earlier, then we'll turn our minds to working with the TTC on the future of Finch.
Thank you.
Other questions?
Don, Robert?
Please.
Thank you, Stephen, for I agree with Paul, great presentation. And it's not lost on me and the board the conversation that we just had with Phil around unlocking urban development. I think the alignment choices that have been made certainly will maximize development, which I think is extremely important. My question goes more to the fact that we're going to be digging underground, and I saw that Metrolinx released a case study over the last couple of days on Copenhagen, and where they opened their underground, I guess a year and a half ago, 17 stations in their historic downtown area, what they call the Ring, and it talks about the use of rock and so forth. My question for you is, when will we have the engineering, the technical studies completed, and will they be completed for our consultations with the public?
So, very good question. We have, as I indicated, recently released the initial business case and sort of made known to the communities for the first time the proposals that Metrolinx is intending to proceed with. We need to do some engagement with the communities and really sort of help them understand and listen to them on all of the sort of concerns that they have. So while we do that, we will not be moving in there to do our geotechnical drilling especially through the Royal Orchard community. We haven't gone into that area to do those field investigations yet. We want to have some time to engage with those communities, socialize our project with them, and only at that point in time will we then move in and do those field investigations to understand those soil conditions.
But I think, Stephen, to Robert's question, the technical work we do on the noise reduction and the vibration reduction strategies, we're sharing that.
Yes.
Widely. And so what we do with dampers and things like that, it's all being put out as part of the project. And Kelly is taking it to the public consultations, is she not?
That's correct. Yes. So yes, those due diligent field activities are coming up, but there is a significant amount of work that has already been done on the tunnel design and those mitigation measures that we are looking to put in place to sort of minimize and ensure that there are no direct impacts to the homes above the tunnel alignment.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions from anyone?
Don, it's Brian Davies. Just one question. In terms of the public consultation, do we have a specific timetable yet when this will occur?
So we do. We've had a few presentations to municipal councils this week, and our communications and community relations team will be out engaging with the communities at the sort of ratepayer association level and having virtual open houses through the month of April.
Good. Okay. And any other questions?
Don, Mike Kraljevic, just very quickly, thank you for that presentation, Stephen. And I can see by our transit planning effort that we're really going to revitalize the Langstaff Gateway area. And I'm not familiar with kind of the land ownership status there. Are many of those lands owned by the municipality, or are they privately owned lands? We have a sense of that?
Yeah, so within the Langstaff Gateway, which is the area south of 407, most of the lands are owned by a few landowners in the development industry. The province of Ontario, through Infrastructure Ontario, does have some land holdings through that area, which are remnants from the 407 construction. Metrolinx obviously owns the GO station and the associated parking lot, and the municipally owned lands are really limited to the existing road network.
Terrific. And I expect as we continue to move forward on this project and bring value to these properties that we'll be leveraging the provincial investment in that property and hopefully engaging the development community in terms of how they can fund some of the work that we're doing.
Yep.
Great. Thank you.
Thanks, Michael. Okay, thank you very much, Stephen. I think that's all the questions I see at the moment. So thank you for the presentation.
Thank you.
Okay, so we'll move on to the Let's Get Ready to Ride program with Leslie and Maureen. Over to you, Leslie.
Thank you, Chair. Good morning, Board. Can you hear me?
Good morning. Yes.
Great. I think we have some truncated time, so I might be talking a bit quickly to allow for time for questions and comments on some of our plans moving forward. So really, the insights, the action plans really reflect the team's optimism about welcoming customers back to GO Transit and Up Express. We're customers too. We are eager to find our GO time again, as we are feeling somewhat trapped in our homes. So our plans are really responsive. They're integrated and really anticipating the customer needs as travel restrictions and demand for transit returns. If we all jump in our cars to avoid, close proximity to other transit riders, we are going to be in gridlock. So transit is going to need to be there when customers are ready to return. So the brand team, digital product innovation, we work really closely with customer analytics, customer research, the customer service delivery under Colley's leadership, and the Presto customer experience team under Candace Troop. We're really mapping out that customer journey down to the micro moment. So what's an example of a micro moment? This is like kind of detail that we're thinking about, like adding messages on our Go website where it says plan your trip. We're adding a message to remind people to preload their Presto card, or using the enhanced app for instant load function. Just really be anticipating where customers need that little nudge, that little reminder to make sure that transit experience is amazing. So our goal is really to make that first transit trip the safest and best experience possible. So customers tell their neighbors and their friends, because we know that positive word of mouth is the most cost-effective and most powerful tool we have. This morning on Twitter, our Safety Never Stops station murals, which we installed last summer, are actually getting some love and attention. And they were built to last. So our investment is paying off with that good positive word of mouth. So we're thrilled about that. We've also updated our Find Your Go Time campaign that reflects the current realities. We're featuring essential workers who continue to use transit, and it also reflects how families can think about a trip on transit as an exotic adventure after months of restrictions. And you'll have a chance to see those at the end of the presentation in our video clip. I'd like to close by highlighting, before I hand it off to Maureen McLeod, to highlight a small but poignant reflection of the team's commitment to innovation and serving our customers and community. What began as a small marketing initiative that coincided with our mandatory face covering policy last summer, we began selling charity Go Up and Metrolinx branded face coverings at Union Station and Go Up service counter. On the executive slide, you'll see featured Sharda Ramjet, who is one of our social media leads, who volunteered to act as a model for a no-cost promotion of those charity face coverings to use on our social channels. I'm happy to say today we have sold well over 1,500 of these face coverings, raising about $3,000 for our United Way charity fund. So this is just an example of our love of transit, and soon too you will be able to show your love of transit as we launch an online Metrolinx shop where you can purchase a charity branded face covering mask of your own. At this point, I will hand it over to Maureen to take us through the insights and things that we're seeing that are going to inform our action plan.
Thanks so much, Leslie. So over the last year, we've been compiling research and insights on our customers, understanding how behavior and patterns have fundamentally changed through COVID, and understand what's to come as customers return to Going Up. These insights are directly feeding into service schedules, marketing, and communications plan to ensure that when customers feel comfortable returning to Going Up, that it's an experience that makes them feel like they want to return again. And throughout this time, there's three themes that keep emerging for me in analysis and in research. The first one isn't a surprise. Safety is paramount for customers. Customers and global research continue showing safety as a key consideration for returning and continuing to use Go Transit. Go customers will notice the plexiglass partitions between seats, hand sanitizers on vehicles and in stations, and cars being cleaned throughout the day. I can say with full certainty we're safety obsessed. And our second theme that keeps coming up is that frequency is key for customers. Over half of ridership through COVID has been in the off-peak. This is in comparison to about 36% pre-COVID. And when I even look at the customer level, 83% of our customers over the last year have used our off-peak trips. This is important for two reasons for me. It tells us that customers need flexibility in their schedules and frequent service. With work and life situations in flux, this absolutely makes sense. We need to ensure that it's a service that's in place that suits customers' new normal. This off-peak focus is especially pronounced in the spring and summer, when weekend ridership makes up 20% of ridership. This is versus about 10% pre-COVID. Last year, customers were eager to get outside and explore when they felt safe to do so. We can expect this in the coming months, when weather improves, vaccinations continue rolling out, and lockdown measures relax. We are already seeing this with customers looking at Go schedules online in hopes of weekend travel, with increases in views on Fridays. We're going to build on this interest with increased weekend service when the time is right. Our third theme is that many customers are going to be new to Go again. We appreciate that a significant number of customers haven't used Go or Up in a year. So, and then 3/4 of those customers that have been using Go don't use Go very often, less than 5 times a month. So we're going to ensure that we make it easy for when customers return or use Go again, whether it's reorienting them on the schedules in Presto or introducing new customers to e-tickets. If we can go to the next slide. Customers will see and experience new amenities such as Wi-Fi, Perlerator pickup and drop-off spots dotted across our network, and even new and revitalized stations. And the next slide. We're making the choice to use Go very easy, and we're taking you to places across the region that you may not have explored before, such as my personal favorite Ridge Hill Waterfront Trail, Barrie Allendale Waterfront, and Niagara. Now to you, Leslie.
Next slide. So as customers have been away, we're going to have to remind everybody all the great fare offerings that we have, from our Sunday Fun Day, Kids Go Free. We've recently introduced a flexible payment option with using your credit, debit or e-wallet on Presto. All of these things we're going to be reminding our customers about as they return. And again, continued and evolved Safety Never Stops communication. At this point, I am going to turn it over to our technical expert to play the presentation.
We've installed seat dividers on trains and buses. With the face covering, you can sit anywhere. Air 5, go Bears. Go Transit, safety never stops.
These puppies ache. You've been on them all shift, but time to give them a break. All the way home. Find your unwinding time. Find your go time. You've done it. The VPN is VPNing again. Home offices are back up and running, and that means some downtime for you. Find your unwinding time. Find your go time.
Presto contactless payment is straightforward and easy. It allows customers to pay with their credit card, mobile wallets, and in the near future, debit cards. It's important to keep in mind that contactless payment is an alternative to paying with your Presto card. It's not a replacement. It allows you, the customer, more choice, convenience, and eliminates the need to buy a Presto card or wait in line to get a ticket.
Take the Go, and instead of the road, your eyes can be locked on your lovey-dovey buttercup. Find your lost in their eyes time. Find your go time. Nobody raced for the front seat. No chair backs were kicked. No fight ensued. Perhaps all this peace is because you took Go Transit. Find your fam jam time. Find your go time.
think that's it, Leslie, isn't it?
That is it. Hope you enjoyed it.
Thank you. That was good. Anybody have any questions that I'd like to ask Leslie or Maureen? Okay, I'm not seeing any at this point, so thank you very much, both of you. We're going to move on to our quarterly reports. We take these as read, but if any directors have any questions on any of these different areas, please ask your questions now. Okay, I'm not seeing anything, so thank you everybody for joining us. I'm going to hand it back to Anne-Marie to close out this session.
Thank you, Don, and thank you to everyone that watched along the board meeting. Our next board meeting is June 24th. I expect it to be virtual, but we will announce it at the time. We're making progress, but not sure we're going to be there yet in June. If any reporters that have been watching have any questions, please don't hesitate to contact me or to send a question to mediarelations@metrolinx.com. And otherwise, I will see you online or in the next couple of months. Thank you for attending.